Are you curious about bodies, pleasure, and possibilities? And what about curious about what others are up to on the planet when it comes to pleasure, sex, and play? Have you considered what pleasure can do for your life, your body, and your bank account? Do you know something magical, delightful, and out of this world orgasmic is not only possible for you, but totally available to you? If you're ready to be the magical, sexual, sexy beast you know you can be, and you just need the tools to get there, you're in the right place. Now, here's the host of The Pleasure Zone, sensual movement artist, relationship and sex alchemist, Milica Jelenic.
Welcome to The Pleasure Zone, my sweet, sweet pleasure seekers. Tonight, we are going to have an interesting conversation about things, about climax, about, good stuff. We're going to be talking about stuff. So before I dive in, I want to let you know about a few things that are going on in the world of me. So for some of you who do or do not know, I work with bodies, I work with people, animals. I actually work even with agriculture. I do energy work in many different ways, but I also do a lot of coaching for people in terms of their relationships, sex, and as well with intimacy. So I have a lot of fun in my life. I'm forever learning, forever adding to my life. And for me, that's something that excites me. And why am I talking about excitement? Well, part of conscious climax is actually excitement. There is, how do you say it? There's like this sort of explanation that was given by Masters and Johnson about like, how do we get aroused and what is arousal and all these sort of things. And they actually brought it down to 4 things. And I needed to make sure I wrote this down because I see it differently than Masters and Johnson saw it. So Masters and Johnson regarded climax. Well, they see it different too as orgasm. So they saw it as excitement, plateau, orgasm, and resolution. And today I'm going to be rewriting that a little bit because I think, yes, some of those are true and some of those aspects don't always come into play. Not everybody gets the same level of excitement or arousal, which is usually defined for men by having an erection and by women for having their vulva engorged, and then having their sweet, sweet pussy get wet. So those are usually the signs of excitement. And other things too, like you might blush, you might get your nipples get erect, your body has a heightened sense of touch. Like when you get touched, you're going to have a heightened sense of touch. For those of you watching me on video today, I've got my glasses on because I can't read certain fonts these days without my glasses. So welcome to my world of glasses. So I'm looking for different cues, and in case you're like, hey, she's got glasses on, what's going on? It's colors, it's fonts. It's an interesting time, and lighting, and all of that is changing my eyesight. So today we are going to be actually talking about climaxes and how do you have one consciously? Like, why would you have one consciously? Can't you just like let your body explode without even knowing what's going on? Well, yes, you can have that. And there is actually value to being conscious about it. And we will talk about all of those things. So in this first segment, we're going to talk about arousal and lubrication. Arousal, especially for women, lubrication, especially for women, and arousal for men is usually considered erection, right? So how do we actually talk about these things? What is arousal? For me, when I think about arousal is where your body begins to become excited by the different stimuli. Whether the stimuli is something that is visual, auditory, what the stimuli are things that are affecting all of your senses. So anything that affects any of your senses can create arousal. If you're watching porn, the visual of porn can affect arousal. If you're listening to some super sexy music and you love the voice, that voice can affect arousal. If you are smelling something that is like delicious to you, for example, for me, smelling like chocolate chip cookies being baked in the oven, that can turn me on like so fast. I get turned on by bakeries, I think, probably because I grew up in one. And my grandmother always baked, but my mom actually ran a bakery when I was like little. So I lived above one, and every smell that I smelled was baked goods all the time. And my body would feel super happy about the baked goods. So there are certain things that arouse us. They arouse us, they excite us. Now, there are different levels of arousal because your body can be aroused and then it's like the stimuli hits you and then it fades, right? So it's like your body just gets a little hit. And then there's some arousal that continues to go and grow. So I'll give you the example through the cookies is like you could be walking by a bake shop, you get hit with the smell of the baked goods that you love so much, and your body is like, Now, that's like a little hit of arousal. So you could enhance that by going inside, delving into it, standing in the shop where they're baking those cookies and letting every pore of your body and every molecule of your body start to wake up from that smell. So it wasn't just a hit. Now you're like being immersed in the experience of whatever that stimuli is. And being immersed in that stimuli is something that you can consciously choose to do. The unconscious choice is you're walking by the baked goods store and your body gets turned on and you're like, oh, that was a turn on. That was cool. Now the conscious choice is to go, oh, that felt good. I'm going to have more of that. And you walk into the baked goods store and you let your body be immersed in the stimuli that really has your body excited and happy with. So you can translate that to literally anything when it comes to sex, because sex and everything to do with pleasure is incredibly diverse. So we could say that, for example, you could be on walking down the street and somebody accidentally spanks your bum because it's in a crowded space and you're like, oh, and it was shocking to you. It wasn't a conscious action. You didn't necessarily ask for it, but at the same time, you're slightly aroused by it. Your body woke up and felt something and was like, that's cool. So that's like an unconscious arousal. So what we're looking for then would be like, that felt good. Now, if that felt good, I wonder if I can bring that into my love life, into my loverships. I like that feeling. Now what can I do with it? That's the conscious part, is where you're asking out of curiosity to create more of something. And consciousness is fun that way, but it's also that you are willing to take that step. So you can have the curiosity and it's like, oh, I wonder what that would be like. And then imagine that you actually take the step into, say, for example, the spanking. And then your body gets super aroused and you're like, whoo, who knew that spanking was so amazing? And like opens up your world because you're willing to be immersed in the stimuli. So being immersed in that stimuli is literally just listening to what arouses your body on an unconscious level through different things. Maybe, you're walking in the woods and you love the feeling of being surrounded by nature. And then you're like, well, this feels good. I wonder what it would be like to like copulate in these woods. And then you've added something to it. So you're immersing yourself and you're allowing yourself to be in that situation and have more and more and more of it. So the conscious part of it is being aware of what turns you on. So arousal can be very unconscious because your body is just reacting to stimuli. And then if you'd like to create it as a conscious thing, then it's to note these things that actually turn you on, acknowledge them, and dive in and immerse yourself in them. Because immersing yourself in them is going to, and it's choosing to immerse yourself in them is what creates that as conscious. And being in it for an extended period of time can actually lead your body to what we could call an orgasmic energy in my shows, I refer to orgasmic energy as the building of the energy. It's that life force energy that we can all be all the time. And the climax is what most people, when I refer to climax, is what most people refer to as orgasm. So, and then I do agree there's resolution. The energy can dip a bit and then it can build a bit. So in the 4 stages that Masters and Johnson talk about, I would say that it would be more like excitement / arousal, plateau, where your body can just feel a little break, orgasmic energy rising, climax, and then resolution. So I would add into that. And I know that people have over time added into that, and it's been readjusted. Many different authors on human sexuality have changed the Masters and Johnson view on that, although it is a great reference. So I do like to use it as a reference. However, I do think there's some stuff that could be added to it. So when I look at this, so this first section, we're talking about arousal and lubrication. Now, the question of whether they go hand in hand, not always. Your body can be stimulated by different things, by different stimuli. It can be awakened, it can feel excited, and you might not lubricate for various reasons. You can be turned on and not lubricate as a woman, and please don't make yourself wrong for that. And gents out there, you can also be aroused, highly aroused, and not have an erection. And please don't make yourself wrong for that either, because that is not the end all be all of arousal. I don't know if you noticed this, but your body is not just your genitals. I know that's surprising, but your body's actually not just your genitals. So guys, if you're like, oh my God, I didn't get an erection, there's got to be something wrong with me, stop and check. Were there other parts of your body that were aroused? Did your body wake up? Is your heart beating faster? Do you feel warmer? Are different parts of your body turned on? Maybe there's been something that happened that is stifling the erection for gents. There can be things like maybe you had your prostate removed, so there's scar tissue going on. They oftentimes, what happens in prostate surgery is that it does often affect erections. For women, whether you might have had surgery, you might have had, like, for example, a hysterectomy, or you might have had something like tumors removed, or whatever it would happen to be. There are different things that affect women's lubrication, as well as hormonal changes for both will affect erections, will affect the lubrication level. So it doesn't mean you're not turned on. So when people are saying that arousal equals this and this, it's not that cut and dry. It's not mathematical. Our bodies are very mutable, which means they can change a lot, and their way of being aroused can change a lot. So the math of sex and the math of arousal and the math of what looks like arousal changes all the time. It changes through your whole life. As a child, I would run around naked all the time. If I was mad, I would get naked. If I was happy, I would get naked. If I was neutral, I usually kept my clothes on. But for the most part, I was happy and mad, so I was taking my clothes off a lot. And certain things were very arousing, like wind was very arousing. I wasn't aiming to have an orgasm from them. However, my body got aroused unintentionally, and somewhere my body would know that something would change, and I would feel better if I was naked running around and had like wind blowing on my body would get aroused. So there was something innately that I knew was going to assist my body, but it didn't mean that I had the target to be like sexually involved. I was like 3 or 4 years old. That wasn't my target. My target was body doesn't feel good. How can I make body feel good? And that's a lot of times what arousal really is how do we enhance how our bodies feel? How do we make them feel better, feel sexier, have pleasure? Arousal is how we actually have our bodies feel better, sexier, and have pleasure. So we can land ourselves in these situations, like when I was little and I'm running around naked, and we can land ourselves in these situations that we don't really recognize till later on, were situations that allowed us to be able to feel a sense of arousal. It wasn't necessarily arousal that led to anything else. It was just to let your body feel aroused, awakened. It may be a better word too. Awakening your body, awakening your senses. And then the more I would do it, the happier I would get. And to this day, I am like not an official nudist, but by far I prefer to be naked than not naked. So there's still an awareness my body has that nudity is incredibly pleasurable for me, and then being in it creates more and more joy and ease and relaxation. And if my body knows that it creates ease and relaxation, it was really weird. Somewhere in my late 30s, when I met my husband, I, for the first time in my life, started sleeping naked. And I had better sleeps in my whole life when I slept naked than when I used to sleep with pajamas. And it was just something that very much occurred naturally one night. And then I was like, wow, that felt so good. Why have I not been doing this forever? And then you can start to choose it. And that's where the consciousness comes in, is that you notice these things that arouse you, and then you can choose them, consciously choose them. And then as you choose them, you can have that enhance more and enhance more and enhance more. And then it can actually come to a place of climax. So we're talking about some easy peasy steps here on how to bring some everyday things that are in your life and look at them a little differently so that you can have conscious climax, even through something as simple as maybe being outside naked and just wandering around in, maybe in an environment where you won't get arrested. I have the luxury of wandering around 45 acres of land if I want naked, with only to the horror of my daughter, who would be terrified to see me running around naked. So I do it when she's not looking. So when you know what turns you on and you choose it, that is part of you having and moving towards a conscious climax. So we're going to talk more about this. And the next thing we'll be talking about is a little bit about how do we actually let go? Like, how do we bring that energy so high that it's not just like, oh, that was arousal. How do we bring it so that it's so high that we can let it go and let ourselves have a conscious climax? So we're going to be moving into the conscious climax part in this next segment. You are listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for The Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email, info@milicajelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, my sweet, sweet pleasure seekers. So today we're talking about conscious climax. And for some of you, you're probably like, climax, but I want an orgasm. So we talked a little bit about the difference between orgasm, climax, arousal, all of those different terminologies that are being thrown out there in the world. And I'm not saying any one is correct. I'm just going with a consistency on my show that when I talk about orgasm, it's the rising energy, and climax is the energy that most people refer to as orgasm. So the climax would be ejaculation, although you'll know from listening to this show back many months, and actually I refer to this a lot. You'll also hear about non-ejaculatory male orgasms as well. So not always does a man have to ejaculate to have or to climax. And in fact, most men who practice NEMO, the non-ejaculatory male orgasm, and multiple orgasms for men as well, a lot of them are very conscious about it. In fact, it pretty much requires consciousness in order to do that. And what do I mean by that is not that you have to be a highly elevated human being, like you're in the 34th dimension or something like that. That's not it. When I'm talking about somebody being conscious as being present with their body, present with their breathing, and being able to manipulate their own body and breath and arousal rate through their own breathing and through their own mind. So the mind, as we've talked about on this show many times, is your sexiest organ. It is the center for orgasms. As much as you want to think, no, 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 my penis is, no, 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 my clitoris is, no, no, no. Every single person has a brain, and every single person has the potential to have conscious climax, because we all have a brain. And it's in our brains that we're creating this consciousness. It's in our minds. So to be able to tap into and have awareness of what arouses you, you can then even just think of things and they can arouse you. The thoughts themselves become stimuli. So like I could be thinking about, for example, the smell of baked goods, and my body could get aroused. I could think of other thoughts that will absolutely do the opposite of arousal. They'll actually turn my body off like 110%. So being aware of that, my target is to actually, at least a few times a day, become aware of and tap into the things that turn me on so that my body can be super happy. Every once in a while, some thoughts will come in and I'm like, wow, that's such a turn off. And I know it's happening. And the cool thing is I know it's happening, which means that I'm consciously aware that I'm not choosing orgasmic energy in that moment. Whether you're choosing orgasmic energy or not, the fun thing to me is to be aware of what you are choosing and how and when you're choosing it. How you're choosing it. Are you choosing it arousal, for example, just solely for your own benefit? And that's cool if you are. Are you choosing arousal so that when your body lights up, it lights up others' bodies, and as it lights up others' bodies, everybody becomes happier? Then everything that every human being walks by or goes near lights up as well. Like that to me is magic, and I love that, and I know that's possible. I know that you can walk by things like plants and they, like, to me, they feel like they sing. And if you're not feeling so happy, they feel that too. And there have been studies done mostly on water molecules, and they're not always 100% reliable, because nothing is 100% reliable when it comes to some certain types of testing. So though the theory behind it is that we affect everything, and anything that has any molecules in it our thoughts affect them. So the conscious part would be to be able to bring in the energies that have you feel stimulated and aroused and turned on. And then how do we bring that to climax is to invite yourself and your body to choose whatever that is. So you're aware of it, now you're going to choose it. And so, for example, when I talked about earlier about a person walking down the street and having an accidental like spank on the bum and they got turned on, the conscious part is like, oh, I like that. How do we bring that to the next level? How do I invite my body to have more of that? And how would I like that? Where would I like that? Maybe it's not just on my bum. Maybe I'd like to be spanked on my breasts. Maybe I'd like to be spanked on my arms. Maybe I'd like to be spanked on my legs. Like, the part of it is that you start to choose it knowing that you enjoy it. So whenever you're choosing something knowingly to create greater in your life, to me, that's creating consciousness. So anytime you're choosing something and you're like, hey, if I choose this, this is going to create greater in my life. And you're like, yeah, I'm choosing it. So choose it. And whether that's doing different things sexually, whether you're going to be adding a little kink to your life, doesn't really matter, because any stimuli is included in this arousal, and any stimuli that you're aware turns you on, that you're taking to the next level, is you choosing consciously to have arousal. And then if you continue to choose it and immerse yourself in it, you are then what? You're actually creating orgasmic energy. And from that orgasmic energy, it can be elevated to whether you have a contractive orgasm or an expansive orgasm, like what people talk about, full body orgasms. Generally, when you're consciously choosing things that arouse you, your body will become so full in a way. It's like your body is so turned on that every part of it is turned on when you have the climax, right? What people call orgasm. So as that builds and builds and builds, there's that elevated energy, and then it creates this like balloon effect that comes out of every pore of your body and just makes you feel alive and amazing, and every part of your body is feeling stimulated and it's feeling awakened. That is creating conscious climax. And then you can be with that energy, you know, where they talk about the resolution. Some people fall asleep, or you can be with that energy and be aware of it. It's like, wow, what did that create for me? Body, how are you feeling right now? And like, you can start to have conversations with your body about what occurred and what it would like to create now. And so that you're not limiting it to, oh, that was a great orgasm, best orgasm ever. Oh, that's great. That's nice. And in terms of creating this and having more and more and more of it, it's good to be aware of what actually works for you and what doesn't work for you. And then immersing yourself in what does work for you. It sounds like life, doesn't it? What works for you, immerse yourself in it. If you enjoy something, immerse yourself in it. If you enjoy, for example, dancing, immerse yourself in it. If you enjoy baking, immerse yourself in it. All of those things that you feel excited by, and those things that are stimuli, that if you allow your body to be immersed in them, will bring you greater and greater and greater joy. Your life will be like an orgasm. Your life will be like building that energy to climax all the time. Why? Because you're allowing your body to be in a place of arousal and be stimulated by things that it enjoys. We can also be aroused by things that are painful. They also create arousal. They wake us up as well, because all stimuli have an effect on the body, and some can have an effect that put you into fight or flight, and some have an effect that put you into like a higher state of awareness, a higher state of arousal, of like joyful arousal, where like the dopamine's coming in and your body's feeling all happy. Those are great. I encourage you while we go to the next commercial break to think about some of the things in your life that, that really, like, when you choose them, your body just feels so alive and stimulated, and everything that's in the environment was waking your body up. You could be standing in the middle of the lake naked, staring at the moon, howling like a wolf, and you're just like, enjoy. That might be your thing, and that energy can build and build and build and build, and then you can actually have that become like a really conscious way of allowing your body to have and come to climax through the build of the orgasmic energy. So think about some of those for you. Maybe take note. Think about when the last time was that you had those during our commercial break. So you're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Interested in masturbating for money, copulating for consciousness, and pleasuring on purpose? 21 Days of Sexual Magicism with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic is an exploration of tools, processes, and actions that you can use to create more for your life, your body, your money inflows, and so much more. Graduated learning for all levels of interest. Learn at your own pace via video classes or join the yearly live class. Take a peek at www.milicajelenic.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email, info@milicajelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, my sweet, sweet pleasure seekers. So, sweet people, I'm just curious if you've ever consciously chose to have the energy of climax without having to have, say, for men, without having to ejaculate, for women, without having to, say, just like what we would call like have an orgasm, like whether you get extra lubricated, you do the heavy panting. I want to know if you've ever been able to bring that energy into your mind and have that like a swirling energy in your mind. There's a technique I learned once from some classes I was taking, and I've kind of adjusted them a bit, but they're quite fun. And I'd like to take you guys through that right now so that you can become aware more and more of what you can do consciously with orgasmic energy, with climax energy, what you can do to actually bring your body to that with solely breathing in your mind. So for those of you, there's those of you who can do this or can't do this, if you can do it, if you can actually sit with your legs crossed and have one of the heels of your feet going into what would be like your root chakra, so like your groin, you can have one connected there. I'm sitting on a chair right now that won't allow that. So the other thing you can do is connect your hand, like you can put your hand onto your root chakra. So that would be like, for guys, you're kind of holding your testicles with your palm around your perineum. Your perineum, for those of you who don't know where that is between your testicles and your anus. There's that taint here and taint there. That's your perineum. And ladies, your perineum is between your anus and your vaginal opening. So your hand goes kind of there, just becoming aware of it. And you can actually sit on your hand if you want, or you can become aware of it by moving your posture so that you're leaning that you're sitting onto your genitals more. And guys, you don't necessarily want to like squish your testicles with this, but just kind of lean in so that you can become aware of how your body is connecting and having touch onto the genital area. And you can allow your body to just move as it will. It may move in circles. For those of you who may have done this before, for other reasons or through other trainings, I've just adjusted it to work for me. So you can rotate your body so that you're sitting and connecting with your sits bones through your bum. You'll notice that as you rotate, that your body is going to connect to different sections underneath your bum cheeks. And you're going to feel your genitals connecting to whatever you're sitting on, the chair or the bed or whatever. So sitting up is really helpful for this. And you can close your eyes if you like, if it makes things easier for you. And we're just going to start off with some easy peasy kind of breathing, where you're going to breathe in for the count of 6 and then out for the count of 5 or 6. And I'm just going to breathe in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a very even breathing, so we're going to go in for the same and out for the same, and there'll be a slight hold in the middle. And you might notice that as you're breathing, your body starts to move a little differently. It might start to get connected in a different way, and just let it move how it wants to. As you breathe in and out, I want you to notice your feet connecting to the ground. And let that energy breathe in through your feet. And then breathe it out and down. I'll be talking during this, but if you can put your tongue at the roof of your mouth, where your tongue just sits right behind your front teeth, can help the energy circulate more. So as we're going to do this, you're going to breathe in the earth and remember a time when you've had a most amazing and beautiful experience with the earth, whether it was going on a hike, going swimming, climbing a mountain, something where you're connecting with nature. And I want you to breathe that through your feet, coming up your body, up through your spine, through your neck, circulating around your head, keeping your tongue at the roof of your mouth, and then breathing out and breathing that down through the earth. And when you breathe back in, I want you to put a smile on your face like you like it. And then you're going to breathe back down. And as you bring that memory in, bring the smile to your face. The next memory I'd like you to bring in is a memory of somebody that you love, that you comforted or they comforted you, and how much joy that brought you. And bring that in through your feet and up, and let the energy circulate, and bring a smile to your face and let it go down. And I'd like you to remember maybe your very favorite food, the taste. Let your body remember the sensations in your mouth, taste, smell, bringing all those memories into your conscious awareness, breathing it in through your feet, up through your body, letting it circulate through your head, keeping your tongue behind your mouth, putting on a smile, breathing it out all the way down. And this next one, I'd like you to remember a sexual experience you had that was awakening, that was enlivening, that you still remember to this day and you smile when you think about it. Could have been your best climax ever, could have been where you had the energy build so much and the temptation was so great, and then you just didn't do anything about it, but it was so great to be so tempted. Whatever turns you on, whenever you remember it, it's a body memory. Ask your body to remember this energy as you breathe it in through your feet, through your body, up through your back, circulating it around your head, keeping your tongue at the roof of your mouth and breathing it out. Smile on your face, remembering some very fun times you had. And this last breath, we're just going to ask for joy. What does that feel like? And ask your body to remember, what is joy from this life or another. If you've never experienced it, we're going to breathe it in through your feet, bringing it up through your back, around your head, circulating, keeping your tongue behind your teeth, bringing a smile to your face, asking your body to remember what is joy and bringing it back down. And keep that energy swirling and moving and rotating it. That energy is something that can continue to build, and it's something that you can continue to play with. It's definitely an energy that as you work with it, it will expand and grow, and you'll have more different memories come out, and you'll have more different experiences that you remember, and your body will have such joy. And especially if you're feeling, kind of down and out, bringing those memories through your body, breathing them in, remembering to smile, as if saying, thank you, I remember, and breathing them out. Even the act of smiling can actually create different responses in your body to remind your body to send out the happy hormones. Just smiling alone can do that. So don't forget to smile. And remember that your body loves this. Your body has been created to have joy. It's been created to have arousal, to be stimulated, to have pleasure. We can also have pain, but what I notice a lot is that pain is something we've trained to. Pain is something that we're told we're supposed to have. I watch kids who are raised in different environments. We have a lot of Amish where I live, and these kids are walking around on, barefoot on hard stone, and they don't even flinch because they are not trained to pain the way we are. They don't even notice it half the time, I don't think. And that's beautiful. For those of us who are trained to pain, we'll look for it. If you're not trained to pain, you don't look for it. And in fact, your body might enjoy these things. So what would your body like if you actually go back into those different places with the earth? If standing in the water is a place that brings you great joy, and you just go stand in there and breathe it in, bring the smile to your face and breathe it out. and let that energy build just by being in the presence of whatever it is that part of nature brings you, and just bring it in, build it, build it, build it, build it, build it, and let your body receive it. It's like, body, receive more, receive more, receive more, receive more, receive more, receive more. And just let yourself see how you can consciously create climax with literally anything. Like even just standing in a lake or walking up a mountain or whatever it happens to be. Your body can do this. It can do it through memories. It can do it through actions. It can do it through choice, is really what it is. Your body can just choose. And you consciously choosing, your body will be allowed to receive more and more pleasure, more and more arousal, and more joy. I think it's a wonderful, beautiful thing. We're going to be coming into the last segment of the show, so stay tuned. You're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email, info@MilicaJelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, my sweet pleasure seekers. Tonight we're talking about conscious climax. And what's the point of it, and what do we do with it? How do we have it? Took you through a little exercise on that just prior to that last commercial break. And part of that is to allow you to harness your ability to consciously dream up, steam up, and bring in the energy that will have that energy of arousal, the energy of orgasmic energy building to the point of climax. And you're doing this all by your own mind, by breathing in your mind and bringing in thoughts and bringing in awarenesses. All of this is like so incredibly simple, isn't it? You didn't have to go and take a 500-hour course and figure out how to, become a guru. You just need to learn how to receive the pleasures you've already had. I don't know if you noticed that, but every single thing I mentioned was asking you to remember when. These are all things that have experienced already in your life. All I'm asking you to do is harness your own mind and utilize it so that you can have more pleasure in your life. And our minds are like vast, and we don't even understand them fully. They're just incredible. So let's use them for as many things as we can figure out, right? There's no reason not to. Now, what are some things you might want to do with this crazy energy as it's building? Well, it might help you feel more awake, more alive. It might help you feel creative. The answer to the what can you do with this energy is literally anything. Now, if you're somebody who's into natural law like I am, and you're into consciousness, the chances are what you're choosing is going to be something that is in line with humanity and in line with the growth and life of this planet. So you're not interested in destroying people or things for no particular reason. So I'm speaking to those of you out there who are actually not interested in destroying everybody and anything for no reason. It is really about learning how to just go, hey, I have this energy. Now, what can I do with this? What can I play with this? So, for example, like having orgasmic energy rising. The other day I was having orgasmic energy rising. My body was like just done tired. And I was just asking my body to show me what it could do with it. And the funniest thing is that this energy rising, what my body wanted to do with it was dream. And I had like intense dreams. And then sometimes what my body would like to do with it is create. Maybe wants to garden. Maybe it would like to do something like create graphics for my show or work on my clients. There's always something that this orgasmic energy would like to do. This climax energy, creating this energy so that it's building, and you're aware of it. What we want to do with it is everything. Maybe you'd like to direct it to your bank account so that your bank account grows and grows and grows and grows, just like your orgasmic energy grows and grows and grows and grows. Maybe one of those memories you have of something that made you smile is maybe you had somebody gave you money and your body lit up and you're like, wow, that was awesome. Remember it, bring it in. If your body likes money, keep bringing that energy in and smile. The thing is people love to work with people who are smiling. People love to work with joy. And there are a lot of people who actually like to work with not joy because they're attempting to actually change that into joy. So their target is to go assist people who are, say, depressed or anxious or whatever. And the target is to bring them joy, right? And that's part of my target is to bring people joy. So yeah, I tend to attract people who desire joy and desire pleasure, and they just don't know how to get there yet. And if you're one of those people who desires joy and pleasure and you're not sure how to get there and you're not sure what to do, you're confused by this all, remember that you can connect with me definitely through my website, milicajelenic.com. You can connect with me there. Send me an email. That's usually the easiest way to go. And we can discuss things because this that we have, this life that we have and these bodies that we have are capable of so many things that you can't even possibly imagine. I'm forever taking classes and things that are fascinating. They're like biophysics, the quantum mechanics of bodies. Like these things are fascinating, and these are things that scientists study. So they're not just like airy-fairy up there concepts. Like these are huge concepts, and they're beautiful concepts, and they're all ways that we can create a beautiful planet. We can have our bodies be feeling restored and happy and joyful and pleasurable, right? We can have all of that. And I encourage you to seek that because it's going to create a happier life for you. And in effect, like I was talking about earlier, if you're walking around in joy and you will affect others. Your joy will be contagious. And isn't that beautiful? If your joy is contagious, then you're going to have other people smiling. And if you're being aroused, and I'm not saying to like masturbate publicly, but if you're aroused and your body's happy and turned on in public, and there are people who walk it all the time, and I think it's beautiful. I love being around people who walk around turned on constantly, and they don't need to like have sex with everything, but they're just so happy to be alive that their body is turned on, and it's such a beautiful thing to be around. That yes, your body might get aroused and want to have sex with them. And like I have people who contact me and they're like, they think they want to have sex with me. I'm like, sweetie, it's because my body's alive and you're turned on, and that's awesome. That doesn't mean you need to have sex with me. It just means enjoy it. You're aroused, I'm aroused, cool. I'm awake, I'm alive. Are you awake and alive? And there might be something that has you feel connected, which is cool. I love connection. So if you do feel connected to me, definitely connect. Find a way. Through social media or through my website or whatever it happens to be. There's lots of ways to connect with me. And for next week, we're going to be talking about guilt and sex and all the like many millions of different ways that we've been messed up with guilt in our lives. So I encourage you to join me until then. And until then, actually stay tuned in and of course, turned on as always.
Thank you for listening to The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. The Pleasure Zone returns next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by choosing to be turned on and tuned in to your body.